Hey everyone, welcome to At Home with Satū Yoga. I'm Nisha and I'm going to be your guide for today's practice. Today's class is a vinyasa inspired practice. It'll be really fluid, open to all levels, and you're not going to need too much. All you're going to need is maybe just a block if you have one laying around the house, your yoga mat, and a bottle of water. We're really going to focus on internal and external rotation of the hips today. So I hope you guys enjoy the class, have fun, and let's get started. Welcome guys. Let's start today's practice with an intention. This could be a dedication to someone who needs that positive energy that you're going to be cultivating in today's class, or it can be a positive word that helps you stay grounded throughout your practice and just reminds you of your purpose, maybe the reason why you came here today. Take a couple more breaths, and then when you're ready, let's reach that right knee up. And keeping the leg engaged here by flexing the toes upwards. And then externally rotating the right hip, bringing the knee out to the right side. We're going to keep the right palm facing forward and place it to the inside of the knee. Holding this pose here just for 6 breaths. Nice guys, just a few more breaths here. On your last breath, when you're ready, we're going to bring the right knee back to the center. Extend the right leg forward. Toes are slightly flexed, allowing us to keep our hips centered. Start extending the left arm forward, right arm back, twist. And the right leg floats up behind us, keeping it at hip level, and we keep twisting for another 4 times here. On your last one, we're going to come back into an upright position with the right arm reaching all the way up towards the sky, coming in for a side bend. And reaching the right arm over to the left, keeping it beside the right ear for 5 breaths. On every inhale, you can come up a bit, just creating that space for yourself. And on every exhale, we're sinking a bit deeper into it. On your last breath, you can come all the way back up into an upright position and then just place the hands beside you. And we're going to extend the right leg forward, bend the left leg a bit here, and then place the outer edges of the right foot or the ankle onto the left leg just above the kneecap, and then reach both arms back for 4 to 5 breaths. And the palms are facing each other here and the spine stays lengthened. And come all the way back up. Extend the right leg forward and then cross the right leg over the left, softly placing the right toes onto the mat just beside the left foot, and we're going to turn to face the opposite side of the mat. Let's go for the other side, opening that left hip, placing the left hand just in front of the leg, and keeping the breath fluid here. Just 3 more breaths. And then bring it back to the center, extend the left leg forward, right arm reaches forward, left arm back, and twist. Another 4 times here. Really taking your time, coming into these transitions with control and patience. And keep the breath fluid, breathing in and out through your nose. And on your last one, we're going to come into an upright position, reaching the left arm all the way up, coming in for a side bend. On an exhale, let's reach that left arm all the way over to the right side, bending the upper body, feeling the muscles gently stretch. And then on your last breath, we're going to come all the way back up into an upright position, bringing the hand down to the side. Let's reach that left leg forward And then place the outer edges of the left ankle onto that right leg, reaching both arms all the way back. Palms are facing each other for a good 4 or 5 breaths. The spine stays long here, and we're keeping our gaze down to our mat. And when you're ready, let's come all the way back up, and then cross the left toes over the right and turn to face forward. And take a couple of breaths here in your Tadasana once more. And then make sure to take about 3 steps back onto your mat. And we're going to come for a sun salutation here, 2. So when you're ready, inhale, reach both arms all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. On your inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, coming up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, root to rise, reaching the arms all the way up. Exhale, Samastiti. Let's go for that again. On an exhale, folding forward. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold forward. And we're going to move into Utkatasana, powerful pose here for 4 breaths. So big toes are touching, heels are slightly apart. Bend the legs and lift the arms straight up. Palms are facing inwards. Sit low as you draw the belly in, bringing the tailbone down. Try to have the thighs parallel to the floor here. Keep the knees aligned, front torso lifted. Inner thighs are parallel to each other. And keep the breath fluid. Now slowly start to raise the heels up high, bringing them over the toes, keeping the knees bent here for 3 breaths. And then slowly start to sit low, bringing the sit bones towards the heels, and then softly landing the knees onto the mat, keeping them together, and then placing both hands onto the legs. And we're coming in for a toe stretch, so just keep the breath fluid, keep that connection with your breath. You can close your eyes if it helps you to relax. And we'll hold it here for a few more breaths and before we come out of the pose. And on your last breath, we're going to shift the weight slightly forward and then back and come back into Utkatasana for 1 breath. And on your exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthening the spine, creating space. Exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana. And we're going to set the hands forward onto the mat for a high plank for 5 breaths. Drawing the torso forward until the arms are perpendicular to the floor and the shoulders are stacked over the wrists. Torso stays parallel to the floor. Press your outer arms inward and firm the bases of the index fingers into the floor. On your last breath, we're going to move into downward facing dog. And take this time to maybe just walk out the legs here if you need to, especially if it's your first stretch of the day. Make sure that your feet are about hip distance apart, arms are shoulder width apart. Heels are aimed down and rooted into the ground. Reach your tailbone up. You can bend the legs here if you need to. And we're going to roll the shoulders back and down by rolling the triceps outwards. Your inner thighs are pulled in and back. When you're ready, reach your right leg all the way up. And on an exhale, let's bring the knee to touch the nose, rounding the spine here for 2 breaths. And then softly stepping the foot in between the hands without making any noise for a crescent lunge. And reach both arms all the way up. Set your foundation. And then when you're ready, we're going to grab onto opposite elbows, opening the chest and heart here, bringing the arms behind the head for 5 breaths. And keeping that back leg strong, heel stays over the toes. A couple of more breaths, and then when you're ready, we're going to come all the way back up, neutralizing the spine here, and then bending the left leg, hovering the knee over the mat, and straightening it back out. So we're going to come for this 4 times, just repeating it. Keeping the arms overhead, We're still grabbing onto opposite elbows here. And straighten the right leg, turning to face the left side completely, placing the back left heel onto the ground and then placing both hands onto the hips. Toes point out to the sides here. So make sure there's enough distance between the feet. Then bend the right leg, bringing the weight into the right heel onto the mat and extending the left leg out, toes point up. Start extending the right arm out to the side, keeping the right hip opened, and then placing the left hand behind the head and bringing the gaze all the way up towards the ceiling. We're here for 4 breaths, and then we're just going to switch sides and move over to the left side when we're ready. Walk the hands onto the ground. Let's move over to the left. Reaching the right arm all the way up and then placing the hand behind the head, extending that left arm all the way out and just placing the fingertips onto the ground. On your 4th breath, you can just slowly come out of the pose, walk the hands back to the center, place them onto your hips and slowly come all the way back up. We're going to point all 10 toes forward to the front of our mat. And then we're going to reach the right arm up, keeping the left hand where it is on the hip. And on an exhale, coming into standing half moon for 4 breaths. So we're guiding with the right arm here, placing the right hand or fingertips in front of the right foot or onto a block if you have one. Make sure the elbow keeps pointing up towards the sky. And if you feel comfortable, you can extend the left arm all the way up along with the gaze. On your last breath, we're going to start bending the right leg a bit and then softly step the left leg onto the mat, coming into Warrior 2. Position yourself properly on your mat. And then when you're ready, we'll come for Exalted Warrior, placing that left hand onto the lower back as we reach the right arm up and back behind us. And firm the shoulder blades on the back and knit your lower ribs in, slightly engaging the core muscles. Come all the way back up, helicopter the hands forward, step your foot back into plank, chaturanga. And we'll meet in downward facing dog for 4 breaths. On your next inhale, reach your left leg all the way up. And on an exhale, we're going to bring the knee to touch our nose, rounding the spine for 2 breaths. And then softly stepping the foot in between the hands, coming into crescent lunge, reaching both arms all the way up. And then we'll grab onto opposite elbows, opening the heart and the front part of our torso. For 4 to 5 breaths here. And then on your last breath, we'll come to neutralize the spine, bending the leg, hovering the knee over the mat. So bending and straightening out the leg. We're going to come for this 4 times. And then once we're done here, we're going to straighten out the left leg and have the toes point slightly outwards. Let's reach both arms out to the sides for cactus arms. And then we're going to bend the legs here, lifting the heels up over the toes and hold it for 4 to 5 breaths. Really sitting low here, drawing the navel in, engaging the lower belly, and keeping the breath fluid. And then straighten out your legs, place the hands onto the hips, point all 10 toes forward. And we'll come for a standing half moon. So on your next inhale, reach the left arm all the way up towards the ceiling. And on your exhale, place the fingertips in front of your left foot onto a block or onto the ground. We're holding our standing half moon
for a good 4 to 5 breaths. And when you're feeling comfortable enough to reach that right arm up, start extending it slowly, taking your time. And then on your last breath, we're going to start bending that left leg and come into Warrior Two, stepping the right leg way back onto the mat. Arms are reaching out to the sides. And we'll come for Exalted Warrior, placing that right hand onto the lower back as we reach that left arm all the way back behind us, bringing the gaze up. And come all the way back up. Helicopter your hands forward. Step your left foot back into plank. Lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. And we'll meet in Downward Facing Dog for 4 breaths. Hands are firmly pressed onto the ground. Fingers are spread and all 4 corners of our palms are deeply rooted into the mat. And take your last couple of breaths here. And when you're ready, reach your right leg all the way up. And on an exhale, step the foot in between the hands for Warrior One. Inhale, let's rise. Keeping the hips centered. When you're ready, let's reach both arms all the way up. We're holding it here for 5 breaths. So make sure that the right knee is staying bent. The back toes are pointing slightly inwards. Square the hips and shoulders to the front. Relax the shoulders down and draw the shoulder blades towards the spine to open the chest. And we're going to continue to take this time to stretch the front part of our body by crossing the arms in front of the torso, eagle arms, right arm over the left, and then start reaching the elbows up towards the ceiling. And for 4 breaths. And then on your last breath, come all the way back up to a neutral spine. We're going to keep the eagle arms and then slowly start transferring the weight into the right foot, straightening out the right leg and raising the left leg for toppling tree. Keeping it here for just 2 breaths, and then we're slowly going to start folding forward, holding it there for another 2 breaths, really reaching that left leg up as high as we can, and keeping the focus and really keeping that connection with our breath. And then come all the way back up into an upright position, left foot beside the right. And we're coming into full Garudasana pose for 8 breaths. So bend the legs here. Start balancing onto the left foot, crossing the right thigh over the left. Find a focal point, somewhere you can fix your gaze on, and hook the top of your right foot behind your left calf, or you can also gently place your toes on the ground if you're having some trouble with stability. And keep that connection with your breath. Keep it fluid. And make sure that the forearms are perpendicular to the floor and that the elbows are at about shoulder height. And really reaching the fingertips towards the ceiling and bringing the shoulder blades down into the back. On an inhale, let's reach both arms all the way up. Look up towards the sky, and exhale, fold forward, drawing the belly in. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold forward. Walk the feet back, lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. We'll meet in Downward Facing Dog. 5 long, deep breaths right here. And when you're ready, on your next inhale, we're going to reach the left leg all the way up towards the sky. And on an exhale, step it in between your hands, coming into Warrior One. Inhale, let's reach both arms all the way up. Hold it here for 4 breaths. The shoulders are facing forward and the hips stay centered. Back heel is grounded. Let's come for eagle arms. And bringing the right arm underneath the left. On your next inhale, let's reach those arms, elbows all the way up, along with the gaze. 2 more breaths. And then we'll slowly come out of it, neutralizing the spine, transferring the weight into the left foot, coming into our toppling tree with our eagle arms, holding it here for 2 breaths, and then slowly folding forward for another 2 breaths, reaching that right leg all the way up. And then with control, come all the way back up, stepping the right foot beside the left, coming into full Garudasana pose. So bending the legs here, we're going to wrap the left leg onto the right, maybe bring the toes behind the calf or onto the ground, and holding it here for a good 8 breaths, really sitting low like you're about to sit into a chair. Back stays nice and straight, upright, shoulders aren't rounding here in any way. We're keeping the elbows about shoulder height, and the gaze is forward. And come all the way back up. Step the left foot beside the right. Untwist the arms and inhale, reach both arms all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. Let it go. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold forward. Let it go. We'll place the hands onto the ground, walk both feet back into a high plank. Lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog, open the heart. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Downward facing dog for 5 breaths. Heels come up high, and we're going to jump into a yogi squat, pointing the toes outwards and bringing the hands together to the chest for 5 breaths. And it's really important here that the heels are in contact with the floor or a blanket. So if the heels are raising off, just slide something underneath them in order to create that action of pressing downward, which lengthens the inner thighs and allows for a deeper exhalation. We really want to make sure that the heels are rooted. And place the hands onto the ground, straighten out your legs, point the toes forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, root to rise. Reach the arms all the way up, palms touch. Exhale, Samastiti. So we're going to come in for a King Dancer for 5 breaths. Shift the weight onto the left foot. Bend the right knee to lift your right foot off the floor. And keep your right knee hugging towards your midline, and then grab the inside of your foot or ankle with the right hand. Reach your left arm all the way up towards the sky. On an exhale, lift the right leg behind you as you bring your torso forward as a counterbalance. So just careful not to drop your torso completely forward here. And on every exhale, keep kicking back into the hand. A bit higher up. And slowly come out of it. Step the foot down. Come into your mountain pose. And then we'll go for the other side right away. Grabbing the inside of the left foot. Reaching the right arm all the way up. And on an exhale, kicking back into that left hand. Reaching that leg up a bit higher. Make sure the toes are staying active and that you're fixing your gaze, drishti, on something that doesn't move so that you don't lose your balance. And slowly come out of it. And bring your hands to the sides. Just walk your feet forward to the front of your mat. Palms face forward. And we'll just take a few breaths here. On your next inhale, let's reach both arms all the way up. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold forward. So we're going to come into Ragdoll for 5 breaths, just grabbing onto opposite elbows, keeping the feet about hip distance apart. Allow the head to hang down between the upper arms, and you can gently sway from side to side, just stretching the lower back here. And then we'll place the hands onto the ground. Walk the feet back into a high plank and lower down, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. And on your exhale, we'll meet in downward facing dog, Adho Mukha. 5 breaths. And from our downward dog, we'll drop down onto the knees, coming in for camel pose, Ustrasana. Hips are stacked over the knees, and the knees are about hip distance apart. We'll place the hands onto our ribs, just opening our chest here. And tuck the tailbone under as you tilt the pelvis forward. Feel the inner thighs begin to internally rotate as you begin to extend the deep hip flexors, the psoas and the abdominals. Lift and elevate the ribs and the chest as you extend the thoracic and cervical spine. And we're going to hold it here for a good 6 to maybe 8 breaths. You can tuck your back toes just to bring the heels up a bit higher and make it a bit more accessible for yourself if your back's feeling a bit tight today. Keep lifting through the chest on every inhale. And then when you're ready, we'll place the hands onto the lower back and slowly come all the way back up, untuck the back toes, and then just come onto the sit bones. We're going to start with crossing the right leg over the left, stacking the right knee directly on top of the left as best as we can, and then sliding the right foot to the outside of your left hip, allowing the outer edges of both feet to land on the ground. Shift your weight slightly from side to side until you're evenly on both sit bones for a good 5 to 6 breaths right here. Hands just beside the thighs. You also have the option to extend the left arm up toward the ceiling with the palm facing forward, then bend your left elbow and bring your left hand to your spine. Extend your right arm out to the side with your palm facing down. Internally rotate your arm so your palm faces behind you. Then bend your right elbow and bring your right hand up to the center of your back, binding the hands here. And just keep the breath relaxed. And then we'll release the bind, place both hands just beside the thighs. And place the hands together to heart center. And we're going to twist to the right. And bringing the left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Really deepening our twist here by drawing the navel in. Just a couple of breaths here, and then we'll come back to the center, and we'll come for our binding on the other side. And let's cross the left leg over the right, making sure that the knees are somewhat aligned and that the outer edges of the feet are on the ground. And then we'll just place both hands beside our thighs, taking a nice 5 to 6 breaths right here. If you came for a bind on the other side, try to balance it on both sides and see if you can come for it on this side as well. And roll the top of the left shoulder back. Point your right elbow at the ceiling and your left elbow toward the floor. Gently pull your arms in opposite directions here. Drop your sitting bones towards the floor and softly squeeze your legs together to create the sense that your upper body is floating above the foundation of your legs. And then we'll slowly come out of the bind and coming for our twist. So when you're ready, we'll bring our hands together to heart center. Take an inhale here. Exhale, twist. And let's keep our twist for a good 5 to 6 breaths. And really twisting from our waist down on every exhale. On your last breath, we'll come back to the center. You can counter twist if that feels good. Reach both legs forward, and we'll come to lay on our spine. Just take a few breaths here, laying on your spine, relaxing your breath, coming to more of a normal pace of breathing here. And we're going to start bending our legs, coming in for a bridge variation. So keeping the feet about hip distance apart, parallel. If you have a block, you can place it between the inner thighs. We're going to make sure that the tips of our fingers can touch the back of our heels, and when you're ready, squeeze the glutes and lift the hips up as high as you can for 8 long breaths. You can interlace the hands behind your back, tuck in the shoulders if you'd like, or you can just rest the palms facing down on the mat. Keep pressing into the heels, really lifting those hips up a bit higher on every exhale. And then come all the way down onto the mat. You can extend both arms out to the side, palms facing down, and we're going to drop the knees to the right to begin for a good 6 breaths. You can bring your gaze up towards the ceiling or in the opposite direction of the knees. And make sure as you're twisting, that left shoulder is staying on the mat here. On your last breath, we'll start bringing the knees back to the center. And then we'll go for the other side, dropping the knees to the left, bringing the gaze to the right, or directly up towards the ceiling. On your last breath, let's bring the knees back to the center. We'll bring them into the chest, squeezing them in tightly, giving ourselves a hug. Let's close today's practice with love and gratitude always. You can give your spine a bit of a massage by maybe just rocking from side to side. And for our last pose, Shavasana. Take this time to just relax your body and really just sit with yourself in this meditative state. And thank you for hopping on and sharing your practice with me today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Namaste.